Hi, this is John Cola with DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode, and in this short episode, I'm going to actually show you guys how to vacuum store your juices. So I have a very popular video, it's doing amazing. Link is right down below. It's how to store your juices for up to 5 days, and I simply use the best juicer to make the juice, so I retain the most nutrients in there, and then I use a system to suck out the air out of the jar. And in that original video, I showed this item right here, which is a Foodsaver wide mouth mason jar sealer. I only recommend the wide mouth, not the narrow mouth, which then will fit on any standard mason jar, whether you got a 16 ounce, 24 ounce, 32 ounce, or even whopping 64 ounce mason jar. You could basically put this on top. You could use a hand pump such as this one, and then you basically just pump out the air, and if you listen carefully, you hear the clicking? That's because it's flexing the lid and sucking the air out between the crack of the lid and the top of the glass. And then we could pull this off, and you could hear the vacuum suck out as we pull it off. And that's great. This part only costs $10, and these pumps, well, this pump was a bit expensive, but cheap pumps could be $5, although a lot of the cheap pumps are garbage. But the challenge is, due to COVID and other reasons, this part has gone out of stock on the Foodsaver website and other places, and they're basically waiting on production that are probably made in China. Due to COVID and other reasons, they're not coming in. So people are hoarding these, and they are selling on eBay for like $100 at this time. And they should only be like a $9 part. So for that reason, I'm going to give you some ways to vacuum store your juices. A few other ways. But the easiest, honestly, is by using a vacuum blender, right? Before we get into vacuum blending, actually, I want to show you guys another simple way I've been using. So they have these special handy-dandy fermentation lids. This is the one that is currently available. It's called the Soligt lid, and it's seal or vacuum storage. So I do use these for mostly vacuum storage, not for fermentation. And you basically just put the lid on the top, center it up, and then you get their pump. You put this pump on, and you pump it up. And basically this will pump the air out of the container. There's a little valve on the top that if you want to open this, you just press the valve. It lets the air out, and then it comes off. So these ones don't maybe allow you to suck out as much air because these pumps are pretty cheap and hokey. And plus, these lids aren't super high quality and do not allow you to pump out a lot, because if you pump too much, this will actually blow the lid off and or even bust the seal. I do use this on low priority foods as needed. That being said, the easiest way is to get a vacuum blender. Because you have a vacuum blender, you're not going to be blending in these vacuum blenders. You're just going to be using the vacuum pump. You know, instead of a manual pump, you have an automatic pump. Like that, or like this. And then you're basically just going to use the carafe as your vacuum vessel, or wessel, if your name is Chekhov. And it'll allow you to basically pull a vacuum on whatever you put in there. So some of the cool things you could do, and once again, this is just using a container, and I would recommend taking it off the blender. Don't be vacuuming while it's on the blender, because if you put glass in there and you press the button by mistake, the blades turn on. You're going to blend up your blades, and if you put an iPhone in there, in the Blendtec blend it up, you're going to blend up your iPhone, as shown in videos by Tom Dixon. But the other thing that you can use this as a vacuum chamber is to expel the water out of your cell phone. So say you drop your cell phone in the toilet, which you shouldn't be doing, put it in here, you make sure you don't turn your cell phone on, put it in here and then pull a vacuum on it. It'll suck the water out of your cell phone into the carafe, which is amazing. So yeah, many uses for vacuum chambers. I'm just going to get into how to vacuum seal a jar. So actually, I want to introduce the two solutions I'm sharing with you guys today. Only one is currently available at this time at DiscountJuicers.com. So I have two of the best-selling US-made powerful blenders, the commercial ones that are used in juice bars and restaurants and all these things. It's the Vitamix, right? And Vitamix does not have a vacuum carafe. This is actually made by BioChef, and I found that this BioChef carafe, and it does include a vacuum pump, will fit the Vitamix free and clear. Most models, the old models, not the new system, the new units such as the The A series, and maybe some other series, the Ascent, basically has a computer chip on the bottom of the carafe that only allows you to use the Vitamix carafe. And the reason why Vitamix did this is because they don't want people using other carafes than their carafes, and they charge a lot of money for their replacement carafes, alright? So yeah, we sell the BioChef. I'll put a link down below to this video so you can learn more about the BioChef vacuum carafe. And I will say I've sold many of these guys to a lot of people. I think I sold like 4 today. And people love this. Like 99.9% of people that get this, after they use it and do vacuum blending, they're just like, wow, John, I cannot believe the difference. I will never go back to standard blending again. And I could only say to you guys is that it is worth it. It does make a difference. You will taste the difference. You will feel the difference. You will see the difference. You have to experience the difference to really know that it's really different. Because me just talking about it, showing you guys, telling you how much I think it makes a difference, you have to experience it. And I wish I could have everybody come over to my place and we could do vacuum blending versus not. And you could have a samples and taste test it. Because after you had the sample of vacuum blender versus not, the same exact recipe makes a significant difference. All my close friends that I've shared vacuum blending with, and first maybe they poo-pooed it. Oh, I don't need that. It doesn't make a difference. They tried it, and they're the biggest converts in the world. Oh my God. So basically how a vacuum blender works is on the Vitamix solution, you get this carafe with this pump. You could put this carafe, fits perfectly on the Vitamix, and then basically before you blend, you use this pump to pump out the extra oxygen. It sucks all the oxygen out of the carafe before you blend, because when you're blending with oxygen in the carafe, even when you're using a tamper, the blade is spinning around. It's creating a vortex in there, much like a tornado that they recently had in the Midwest that could destroy houses and knock over trees. They're very destructive. It took Dorothy back to the Wizard of Oz, as a matter of fact. But nonetheless, it's oxidizing lots of the different antioxidants and actually oxygen-sensitive vitamins and antioxidants and even polyphenols and other nutrients in whatever you're blending. So, for example, if you're blending blueberries, you're losing about 3 times of the polyphenols, because if you vacuum blend it, there's 3 times more polyphenols available for you to drink, and then more importantly, there's more polyphenols and antioxidants in the smoothie so that it stays fresher for longer after you're done blending. If you do want to save your smoothies, which I do recommend drinking your smoothies right after you make it, but if you do want to store your smoothies after you make it, you could use your vacuum blender carafe to do that, as I'll show you in a second. So over on this side, I have the Blendtec, the other major US manufacturer of blenders out there. They've been making commercial units for many years that are in some of the famous juice bars and different coffee houses around the country. I like it a lot, and I used to flip-flop between I like Blendtec and then I like Vitamix, but yeah, guess what? Now I'm really a Blendtec man, because the way they've improved the vacuum blending technology that I'll share with you guys in a second, and unfortunately this is not quite out yet. This is a manufacturer's sample. They have actually requested that I try it out, make sure it works, give them feedback. They've been adjusting and making it better, and hopefully by the end of the year they'll have this solution out where they will sell the whole kit. So if you don't have a blender, you can do vacuum blending in their Blendtec with the whole kit. If you already own a Blendtec base, they will sell you the carafe that will fit on the Blendtec base with the pump and a whole kit, so you can vacuum blend. And even then, the other thing they're going to do is actually they're going to come out with a Blendtec carafe that you can actually put on the Vitamix, and then you can vacuum blend in the Vitamix with the Blendtec carafe under vacuum. And so at this point, I like the Blendtec carafe because they have made some modifications that I'm not going to get into just for me and my customers. And this is something you're not going to find anywhere else, all right? So anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and show you guys how to vacuum seal a mason jar in one of the blenders. So first step, take off the blender carafe off the base so that there is no possible way this blade will start spinning around and break your glass, right? And that's why I like the vacuum blenders that actually have a separate pump, such as these right here, so that you can do this safely, because I'm really weary of some of the blenders that you have to vacuum blend, with the, or pull a vacuum with the carafe on the base, right? So we're going to go ahead and take the lid off this. And it's very simple, right? All you do is you're going to take your jar. We got a jar there. We got a jar here. I think this one has a vacuum on it. And for demonstration purposes, we are going to take some marshmallows. Now, these are marshmallows. Do not recommend eating marshmallows. They're probably one of the worst foods in the entire world, but they are good when you're vacuum blending because I can show you what happens. So I'm going to carefully stack these up evenly in each jar so we can see if the amount of vacuum pulled in each container with each pump is better or worse by how much these marshmallows expand. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 marshmallows in the bottom of that one, and we're going to put 7 marshmallows in this one. So the main thing with vacuuming, when you suck out the oxygen, the excess oxygen out of the container, basically the things expand. So some of the juices that I make, I've even noticed that I pull air bubbles out of the juice that are, just sitting in the juice. So now there's less air in the juice to oxidize and to go rancid or bad or destroy some of the different other nutrients in the juice as I'm storing it. Of course, you can also store your smoothies or even prepared vegetables or fruits or make salads or soups in advance and store them in mason jars like I'm demonstrating today. So the first step is you got to get your food in there. In most cases I do juices, soups, or in rare instances smoothies. You're going to then take the standard lid that comes with the mason jar. I like to get the mason jars at, of all places, Walmart. I'm not a big fan of their company in general, but they have the mason jars for relatively cheap. Only get the wide mouth. I put this lid on, and then we've got to take the ring here. You don't put the ring on tight, you just put it down until it makes contact, just to kind of keep the lid in place and stable. You don't crank it down. If you crank it down, it's not going to be able to suck the air out. So we just have that to hold the lid in place. We're then going to put that in the carafe. Next, we're going to go ahead and take this one. Same deal. Oops, I lost that guy. We're going to go ahead and just screw this in and just screw it just so it's holding the lid in place. We're going to put that in to the blender. We're going to go ahead and put the blender top on. Squeeze that down. We're going to go ahead and put this lid on. Squeeze that down. And then we're going to take the pump. So I really like the Blendtec pump because it actually has like a bar graph of different colors. It's like red, then it goes yellow and green to let you know that it has full vacuum. And even if it has full vacuum, you want to let it run a little bit longer. This does have a 2-minute time limit, so this will only run the pump 2 minutes and then shut itself off. I really like this pump. This is the most powerful vacuum pump on any vacuum blender that I've tested to date. Plus, the way this works is that this is constantly pulling vacuum on the carafe during your blend. So should air be released during your blend, it's instantly sucking it out. Whereas most vacuum blenders only suck out air at the beginning, and then whatever air maybe is generated or still in the carafe is still going to be in there. So the way this works is we're just going to go ahead and put this adapter lid on the top. And in a second, we're going to go ahead and hit the button, which then is going to start this pump up, which is going to suck all the excess oxygen out. And I want you guys carefully to look at the marshmallows as they expand and grow. And we're going to speed the video up for you guys to show you guys what it looks like. All right? On 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, so we're going to go ahead and shut it off. Basically, the BioChef pump will turn off when it's pulled full vacuum, and the Blendtec pump just keeps running for a solid 2 minutes to get as much vacuum out as possible, and then shuts itself off. There are no automatic sensing in it, and that's just how it works. Once again, if you guys notice that, it looks like the Blendtec pump pulled more vacuum more quickly. And that's because they were able to basically get a off-the-shelf pump to put in here that's really powerful. And this is actually a louder pump. The thing I would recommend for Blendtec is try to quiet this down somehow because it is a bit noisy, but also their blender's a little bit noisy. And then also they need some feet on the bottom, maybe even suction cups, so that it doesn't walk across your table and create further vibration and further noise. All right, on this guy, we basically got to just lift up this little black tab, and it allows the you to pull off the top here. And then on this guy, there's a little button on the bottom. Press that once to pull off the vacuum. And then on this guy, it's like a little red light, which means it's working, and then it goes to green when there's a vacuum pulled, and then you got to let it run a little bit longer to pull more vacuum. It pulled vacuum a lot slower, but pretty much looks like it got to maybe a similar place, potentially. All right, so let's pull off the lid on this and lift this up. This lid's a little bit more difficult to get off than the Blendtec lid because it seals more tightly, which is a good and bad thing. And let's pull these guys out, all right? So you guys can see the BioChef and the Blendtec. Oh, and I think we lost vacuum on the Blendtec for some reason, or maybe not. I'm not sure what's going on there. All right, so what did this tell us? Well, as it worked, these marshmallows expanded a lot more, but then once we pulled the vacuum off, for some reason, maybe this lid is like leaking a little bit. Seems pretty tight, but there's still vacuum in here, but just not quite as much, because you can see the marshmallows are not quite as expanded, although they were expanded earlier. All right. So both these are now under vacuum. I would recommend, storing them now by screwing this cap all the way on, all the way tight, so you can then, store them in the fridge or wherever. Obviously, I don't generally store the marshmallows. This is just for demonstration because they kind of blow up really nice. And then to get these lids off, that's the challenge. I happen to have a little bit of nails, so I just get my nails underneath there. And I'm a guy, so I pull up, and I want you guys to watch this as I pull the vacuum off and listen carefully. You can see the marshmallows instantly shrink back down to their original size. This does take some strength. If you don't have the strength, don't have the nails to be able to do this, or have long nails and aren't able to do this, then you might want to try to get some kind of tool to lift it up. Once again on the Blendtec. All right, and there we go. It sucks it back down to normal. Wow, so check this out. This is very interesting. So these guys, if you look, they're really shrunk back. Let's pull those out. We'll pull one out for you guys. We'll pull these guys out. So this one is shrunk back to a smaller size, and this one to a bigger size. And now why would that be? Well, my opinion is that this one pulled a stronger vacuum, so it stretched it out more, so then when it shrunk back smaller than this guy. But it is very interesting that when this was done, the marshmallows were not quite as expanded as much. So I think I might flip-flop these and pull a vacuum on this guy with this guy, and this guy with this guy after my video to see what happens, because I don't know if there was a leak in this actually a jar, or if there's a stronger vacuum being pulled as it was on, and then when it was not on, the container was not able to keep as much vacuum in there. Anyways, that's pretty much it for this episode. I wanted to show you guys actually how to pull a vacuum with your vacuum blender, so that you guys could vacuum seal without buying any extra attachments. So I would encourage you strongly to buy a vacuum blender, not only because you could vacuum seal your jars, pull the water out of your iPhone if you drop it in the toilet or in a lake and you're able to retrieve it, or seal your jars so you can seal your meals, seal your salad, seal your soup, seal your smoothies or juices by just simply using your vacuum chamber, which is your blender carafe in this case. All right. Be sure to click that subscribe button right down below to be notified when the Blendtec Vacuum Blender comes out. I will have a video on it as soon as it is available. I have been using it in my kitchen probably for maybe almost a year, not quite, maybe. I forget, time flies when you're having fun. And it does work quite well. It is my go-to vacuum blender at this point, but I'm sorry to say it is not currently available for you guys out there, so stay tuned. I will have videos on it as soon as the whole kit is available, as well as just the carafe that is good for the Blendtec or even the Vitamix, all right? I originally pulled a stronger vacuum on this jar in the BioChef and with this jar in the Blendtec. So just reversing the jars shows me that clearly the Blendtec basically pulled more vacuum. It expanded the marshmallows even larger than in this guy, Now here's the thing. Right? These lids will leak. So you can only do vacuum sealing with the lids maybe about 6 times from my estimation. After that, they may lose vacuum, which means once this was done, it started to shrink almost instantly, so that they were actually smaller than the BioChef. So that was actually not entirely accurate because this is leaking a little bit. But in general, I will say that the Blendtec pump is stronger than the BioChef pump. It also works quicker as well. So it's kind of like, that's like slow and steady, and this is like, fast and furious, all right? So once again, we're going to go ahead and take these lids off. This one's not quite as vacuum because these lids wear out, and I'll show you guys that in a second. And let's go ahead and pull the vacuum. This is always fun to do. Watch those shrink down. And yeah, evidenced by the still, when it shrinks down, it's a little bit shriveled up. And this guy, they're not quite as shriveled up, so we'll pull one of these out, each of these guys out for you guys to see. Yeah, I mean, then basically, well, in this case, they look pretty much the same. Alright? So, yeah, I wanted to give you guys that update. Oh, yeah, and then I'll show you guys this. So on the bottom of these lids, you can see it starts to get indented because the vacuum pulls so much, it presses this down so much, that then this is not making a good seal because these seals end up wearing out. So then you can buy, like, you know, once you see the seals not sealing properly, that bothers me a lot. Then I just go ahead and buy another set of 12 lids, and they're about $3 or so for another set of 12 lids. And they basically, I usually put the date on them, and you can even mark on them, like, how many times you vacuum seal, and after a certain amount of time, replace them all. So I would buy 12 lids every start of the month and just get rid of the old lids, you know, that weren't properly sealing. They can be used for other reasons, but not for vacuum sealing because these lids, like the gaskets, kind of get indented and then they don't make a proper seal, as you guys saw in this video. If you guys enjoyed this content, want me to do more videos like this where I share my tips and tricks with you guys, hey, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Also be sure to share this video with somebody else that already owns a vacuum blender that may not be familiar with how you can vacuum save things without even having a pump, a manual pump, or even one of these tops, right? I came up with this thought and idea because I have a friend that I give a vacuum blender to, and she was not able to vacuum save things. I'm like, wait a second, we could vacuum save in your vacuum blender. And many people don't realize that you guys could easily do this, provided your container, your glass jar will fit in the vacuum blender. Alright? Also be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on my new and upcoming episodes that are coming out every 5 to 7 days. You never know where I'll show up or what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel. Be sure to click the little bell so you get notified as many videos come out. And be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes are well of knowledge. Over 500 episodes at this time on this YouTube channel dedicated to comparing and contrasting all the different brand juicers and even the best vacuum blenders so that you guys can get the right appliance for you so that you can process and eat and include more fresh fruits and vegetables and other plant foods in your diet because they are the foods that will most and best increase your microbiome. Yes, even juices, after you juice them, contain the soluble fiber that will enhance your microbiome. Plus, the plant foods and fruits and vegetables specifically are rich in different phytonutrients that can play a role in healing and health based on the scientific studies I've seen. Finally, I want to say if you guys enjoy my videos and enjoy what I'm teaching you guys, I want to encourage you guys to support me in my work by making your purchase at discountjuicers.com. This allows me to continue to pay my light bill, buy my marshmallows to do these demos for you, and make my juices and do all my different comparisons that I do, and your support is greatly appreciated. I'm like the small local farmer just trying to like grow food and make and sell it and make a business instead of one of those big conglomerate, huge, super huge mega corporations that are trying to control and dominate the world. So your support is greatly appreciated. So with that, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for our YouTube visitors.